All right, guys, we are live. It's closed big ticket sales. Kevin here, Anthony over there. And today we are going to talk about appointment setting, how to train them, and why it's important. But before we were even talking here, Anthony, you were telling me about how you're actually training some appointment setters right now, right?
Yeah, right now we're training. Actually, we've seen a big breakthrough here. And one of the main things we found was really training the appointment setters. It was actually leading to booking a lot more high quality appointments there.
Yeah. No, I think that most people don't even, it makes sense, but most people don't even do it. Like they have the old previous leads that kind of are collecting dust, but they don't really think about putting in a setter to call it. So, why do you think it's important to put setters in place to call old leads up?
Well, first of all, having someone to reach out to leads on a consistent basis, that is always just going to have your calendar a lot more full
Mhm.
compared to if you're just sitting around waiting for people to reach out to you. My adage is you should never rely on referrals. You're always supposed to be reaching out to people. The more outreaches you do, the more likely you are to make sales.
Hmm. Yeah, like I'm not gonna not take referrals, but sometimes you gotta just make things happen. And if your calendar is not as full as you want it to be, or it's not full enough for your salespeople to kind of make more sales, then yeah, you got to reach out to the leads because it's not to say that they're not interested anymore, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's multiple ways you can reach out. You can have appointment setters, you could be running ads, you could be doing cold email, whatever your method is, always just make sure you have a lane of outreach where people can either sign up or you're reaching out to people. And always make sure you have somebody to not only speak to the leads to pique interest, but to pre-qualify them and then book them onto your calendar. That is the best method to set yourself up with a lot of sales calls.
Yeah. So, for example, we worked with a client in the real estate coaching niche, and and you were actually involved and kind of you took charge with training the setters actually. So, like, how do you normally? What are the kind of steps on training a new setter, and how do you get them to do what the main goal is?
Well, first is obviously you need to write a script there. So
Hmm.
write a script that you know works well. I recommend if you want to set appointments, make sure that it's something that's validated, meaning you should book the first couple yourself just to see
Yep.
what works and what doesn't. And normally nobody will know your business as well as you. Once you find something that works, you know that that script works. That's when you can hire a setter to start booking appointments for you. Okay. Now, the first thing I'd say once they have the script is setting expectations, letting them know how many calls you expect them to book on a
Yep.
daily basis. And second of all is pretty much going through the script with them and making sure that they're fluid with it.
Yep. Yep. And yeah, it's interesting that you say that because it's fine to go off of a template, but you want even if you do have a template, you still want to test out that script with a specific type of market. So we have a template that works for real estate. It works for marketing agencies. We've done it for online coaches. We've done it for other industries. But it's the thing that is interesting that you said there is that you want to test out that script. So usually, whenever we do this for clients, we usually just go in there and make some phone calls first. But what I got from you was actually just keeping track of KPIs. So, what do you usually look for in KPIs with new setters?
Well, the most important thing, bar none, is appointment set.
Hmm.
Now, I have a rule where if you set a certain number of appointments, to me it doesn't matter how much you work, as long as you hit that goal. Now, some people can see them, they may get scared, but I think it's a really good standpoint to have because as long as, say, for example, your goal is to hit 5 appointments in a day,
Yep.
I tell my setters that it doesn't matter if you do that in 5 hours, it doesn't matter if you do that in 1 hour, as long as you get it done there. And that really leaves a lot of room to let my setters really feel like they're not working at a full-time job and really make it seem like they're getting paid a lot for not doing much.
Yep.
Now, the second thing we have there is that if you're not hitting that goal, you need to make a minimum set of dials. Okay. So it's either you're getting the job done or we're seeing that you're putting effort there. And normally what that looks like is 100 plus dials
Yep.
on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You introduced me to Close.io actually, and that was the cool thing that usually the good days that we were getting from setters, they were dialing 100 to 120 dials. So sometimes we'd have these superstars. They would just do fewer dials and book five a day, and then kind of fuck off after that.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's a cool thing with having it just more KPI based, where you know if they're booking five and screwing off after, you want to just make sure that they're qualifying the leads and making sure that it's actually good leads. Though, but so let's talk a little bit about qualifying leads. And so, how do you kind of help them implement qualification with generating appointments?
Yeah, so qualification is important. Obviously, not only do you want to be booking appointments, but you want to make sure that that lead is actually fit to work with you.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not a fan of asking too many qualifying questions. Some people like to ask 5+ questions.
Yeah,
Generally, what we do is we ask a minimum of the three most important questions, generally surrounding budget, generally surrounding timeline, and generally surrounding what their main problems are there. And those are
yeah.
the main three there. Anything we've tested, where we were asking more questions, people just would start hanging up mid call, saying, "Hey, let me call you back later," and the bookings really went down there.
Yeah. Super important to ask the right questions. Like if you're asking them like huge open-ended questions, just know that you're going to get fewer appointments probably, right? It's the more questions that you usually have in place, it's more filters and it's going to be harder for people to answer those questions. But the thing that I noticed actually is that I feel that a lot of businesses sometimes they don't even implement appointment setters. They just like to get people to an online form, which is good, but the thing that I noticed kind of going from what I was used to, which is online apps, online forums, to qualification over the phone, is that when you actually have a human being calling them, they're actually usually are more open to answering your questions that are more truthful too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Not only do you have somebody walking you through and having a conversation there with you, what you'll find speaking to an appointment setter rather than going through a form is if they have any questions
Yeah.
about your product or service while they're going through that form, they actually have somebody to speak to now to actually answer that question. And if you train your appointment setter up properly, they're going to be able to answer questions, they're going to be able to handle objections, they're going to be able to really push them for that meeting if they're genuinely interested in your offer.
Usually, I mean, we'll get 3 to 5 appointments. It really depends on the market, right?
Yeah, it really does depend on the offer, but a lot of the times when you implement an appointment setter, and this doesn't only apply to cold calling, it could apply to your inbound leads, it could apply to your old leads. You'll be very shocked that when you implement an appointment setter, how many more extra sales calls you can generate for yourself. It really is a hidden gem.
Oh yeah, I'd say the biggest opportunity are the companies that have a warm opted-in lead list. They collect the phone numbers, but if they don't have outbound setters, then there's definitely a lot of people kind of on the table there that they're I don't know how to say this, but they're just like leaving out opportunity. I'd say.
Yeah, no, for sure. Contacting your old leads is one of the best ways to generate revenue. It works so well to a point where we actually thought maybe this is just something we could offer companies as an offer
Yep.
as is because it's so effective. I'm so surprised when I see companies that they don't follow up with their old leads and they're just like, oh, okay, on to the next one because these old guys didn't buy once upon a time.
Yeah.
Keep in touch with those guys.
Yeah, and I'm a cold email guy. I'm an email guy, and
Yeah.
some campaigns, like especially if you're doing a cold email campaign, it takes 14 days to warm up. It's pretty technical. You got to change the DNS records, write the copy, which is great if it works. It's great and it's automated. But the thing that I liked about cold calling or just calling your opted-in lead list is that it's very quick. If you have a
Yeah.
good script, you can even call it yourself the same day and start getting results immediately.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what I always recommend to people is just always have a solid follow-up approach.
Hmm.
Never let your leads die out. Whether you do it yourself in the beginning, whether you pay somebody to do it for you, just make sure you have some sort of nurture sequence or some follow-up sequence, and that's really going to help double your business.
Yeah, exactly. They say speed to lead, right? And after they fill out the form, usually they're good at sales opportunities. So if you can get an automation after they opt in, you get a setter to call right away. I've seen some people just with a lead magnet, they'll call them and make sure that they got the lead magnet and then schedule another call. What we did was a more direct approach. So we would just call them and set up another strategy session with an expert, and we were able to get sales calls pretty consistently.
Yeah. And on a different scale as well. This doesn't only just apply to running ads or anything. Say for example, you're trying to do organic, you make a
Mhm.
post, you see that people are engaging, they're liking your post, they're commenting. And an example of an appointment setter would be just going to DM all those people that engage with your post, asking them
Yep.
if they need help with anything, and really just trying to start a conversation where you can build interest and then schedule them onto a call with yourself.
So what else do people need to know about training setters?
The biggest thing about training setters is handling expectations. There's another feature there. You do need to watch them. So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of setters, unless you're fortunate enough to be working with A players only, you're really going to have to watch them because a lot of people left to their own devices, they're going to start slacking off. You have to remember that you're looking out for your business and they only care
Mm-hmm.
about a paycheck for the most part. And so
That's
you
true.
really do have to look over
It is
them.
true.
It is true, unfortunately, but it is what it is.
So I mean that's kind of why I like KPIs rather than an hourly rate because they I would say with pay per appointments or pay per appointment that they're motivated in the right way. If they're booking you know appointments out of the wazoo though, I would say if they're booking like 20 or 30 appointments a day, you'd probably want to take a look at the qualifications after that at that point.
Yeah, my recommendation is you have a team meet with your all of your appointment setters at least once a week. This is where you can go over how many dials they're putting out. You can go over the appointments they booked. This is kind of like a quality control measure, so you can see,
Yeah.
who's doing well, who's trying, and which are the appointments that are turning into closed deals. You want to make examples of those great appointments and really get everyone booking in that similar style.
Yeah. And the other thing that's important too, I would say, is having daily meetings. I remember that. I remember when we were doing this. We had our team immediately after we started doing daily meetings. The numbers got more consistent. I find that the less time that you have with each other, the people how would you say this? They kind of lose focus. I would say.
Yeah, they definitely lose focus. Also, there's so many benefits of hopping on
Mhm.
those meetings. I remember just people asking, like, "Hey, Anthony, hey, Kevin, there are these common objections I'm
Yep.
getting. I just don't know how to get past it." That's where you, as the specialist in your own offer, can really
Exactly.
give them the objection handling, the solutions, and really the mindset to help them book more appointments.
Exactly. And I'd say, yeah, now that you mentioned that, that's what the goal was in these meetings. It's, uh, hey, how do I answer this objection? And when you can kind of when you coach them through that every day, they're going to get better results as well. So everybody wins.
Yeah, naturally. And just listening to the calls is important too.
Yeah.
I know it may seem like very tedious or time consuming to listen to a few of those calls, but you really want to listen in because so many times I've caught my appointment setters making mistakes, saying
Hmm.
things in a way that, I didn't think was right. And just being able to correct them and help them book more appointments because of those little fine tunes that you make.
Yeah, super important to listen to those calls. I would say that's probably the biggest hurdle with running and managing a sales team and listening to the calls. It's super important though. It's something that's so simple, but not easy to do because you're busy. You're running the business. But the ROI on listening to the calls is very high, even if you are the business owner. I would say.
Yeah, it has to be done.
Yeah. Anything else? I mean, we're just about to wrap up here, but what else do you want to say about setters and there's so much more that we can go through, but I just want to keep this under 15 minutes.
Yeah, one thing I'll say, I'll go back to it, is really validate your offer. I've seen a lot of people just have an offer in mind and they're like, you know what, I'm just going to get a setter on it. You can't do that until you know that the offer works. So always
Hmm.
validate it. Unless you know for a fact this is going to work, always validate your offer before you put a setter in there. Otherwise, you're really going to risk people not knowing what to do and you not having the solutions to their problems.
Exactly, and you can put a setter on there, but you're not going to get as fast of a feedback if you were to do it yourself.
Exactly.
If you're the offer owner, then you're going to learn so much more about the market, what people want, what kind of conversations that you're having as well. So yeah, it's super important to validate the offer and do the script ideally yourself first. But once you
Yeah,
figure that out, once you get the template right, once you get the messaging right, once you get the script right, it's a quick and easy way to generate more sales calls.
absolutely.
Awesome. I guess we'll wrap it up there. Thank you. See you later.
See you guys.